was made by our predecessors. Their meaning is that outsider is one, is an applicant who is not yet a judge. That is what they mean. I have no objection to this, to outsiders being appointed to positions in the judiciary. As a matter of fact, the first appointments of President Cory Aquino to the Supreme Court were all outsiders, except for then Judge Amor Herrera. All the others, like Chief Justice Narvasa, Chief Justice Marcelo Fernan, Yap, and many others, they were all outsiders under that definition. So I have no objection to outsiders being appointed to judicial positions. When Eisenhower ran for President of the United States, he went to Governor Earl Warren and said, told Earl Warren, you help me in my campaign for presidency, and I'll appoint you to the first vacancy in the Supreme Court. Earl Warren was governor of California. It happened that the vacancy was that of Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States. So Warren asked, I said, will you you appoint me now as Chief Justice? He said, no, I mean Associate Justice only, not Chief Justice. And Warren said, if you have any word of honor at all, you will appoint me, because you said the first vacancy in the Supreme Court. And so Eisenhower was forced to appoint Earl Warren. It turned out that the Earl Warren Court enunciated so many doctrines, among which was the Miranda Doctrine. That is a classic in human rights. So that's that. Now, what is important really is our perspectives in the matter of applying for positions in the judiciary. Well, what is your judicial philosophy, Judge, when you become a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court?
My judicial philosophy, Your Honor?
Yes.
Well, when it comes to fundamental rights and human rights of people, then the Supreme Court must take, as it has taken, an activist role. It must ensure that there is no derogation at all to the rights guaranteed to our people under the Bill of Rights. When it comes to other rights, economic rights and economic policies, Your Honor, I think that the Supreme Court must take a passive role, realizing that those constitutional provisions are addressed first and primarily to both the executive and legislative department. And that, as a matter of practice, the Supreme Court should not supplant its own economic theory to those that have been pursued by way of policy determining of the legislature or those of the execution process thereof by the executive, Your Honor. I think that the Supreme Court, therefore, should primarily take the role of being a constitutional court. That, like the U.S. Federal Supreme Court, it should not overburden itself with so many cases, overburden its justices with so many cases, and be able to concentrate on what we call the important constitutional precedent-setting decisions, so that when the Supreme Court does speak, it always speaks with what I call like a thunder, that it is setting the law or affirming a policy, and that in all other cases, it should, as a matter of policy, consider the determination of decisions of cases coming from based on the decisions of the Court of Appeals as basically settled, and unless there's clear abuse of discretion, that it should not allow them to go into the marriage, Your Honor. That's my philosophy, Your Honor.
Can you not shorten it somehow?
Oh, yeah. A Supreme... Yes, Your Honor.
Well, it's so hard to digest that. Just like, for example, the ideal of the integrated bar of the Philippines, like no master but law, no guide but conscience, no aim but justice.
Yes, Your Honor. The Supreme Court serves primarily the needs of justice in this country, in all its aspects, Your Honor.
Well, there's another matter. You were talking about the bar. I don't want to demystify bar top-notchers, but then there are several sectors which propose to abolish the bar. Their idea is to give examinations to the first year students after finishing the first year, and then examinations for the second year, examinations for the third year, and the examinations for the fourth year.
Yes, sir.
In that way, well, examinations may be given by the Supreme Court or a committee in charge of that, or by the CHED, or by the Board of Legal Education.
Yes, sir.
In that way, you already eliminate those who don't deserve to be lawyers from the start. But can you imagine when you the results of the bar says that only 15%, 20% pass, and so what happens to the 80%? They're jobless. So that's the idea. So even from the start, just like what do you call that in college, ICQ. Even from the start, you already eliminate those who do not deserve to be lawyers. What do you say to that idea?
Yes, Your Honor. That would be good, but that means that you must play a very high, a very strong weight on the shoulder of the Legal Education Board, because it's possible, Your Honor, that it is possible that certain law schools are so differently situated that in order to attract students, at least to make their law school at least survive, that they begin to go down on the criteria of what we call academic excellence. I think that's the allure of the bar examinations, Your Honor. It is the hardest government exam being granted, and it usually epitomizes the work, the great intelligence, and the hard work of some of the brightest and most diligent men and women of this country. In other words, it is a mark of excellence. And therefore, if we can translate that, Your Honor, into the law schools, by all means. But that means that being able to accredit the law schools and being able to monitor them and ensure that only the best and the brightest, those who are qualified to enter the legal profession, are allowed to operate. And there's a system of checking this, Your Honor. Yes, that would work, Your Honor. But that means that we would have to close down almost half of the law schools in this country because some of them are just graduating. As this bar results would show, more than half
Well,
of them are graduating.
there are only a few who try to make money out of law schools, but really there is no law schools do not make money.
They don't.
They want only the name.
That's right, Your Honor.
But well, one idea would also be to limit the number of law schools.
That's true, Your Honor. I think that's the best.
In Hong Kong, there are very few lawyers, only about 2 or 3. The reason is that there is no law school in Hong Kong.
Yes.
If you want to be a lawyer, you go to London to study law. Only then will you be qualified to.
The same thing in Singapore, Your Honor. There are only 2 law
Yes,
schools,
that's true.
and you cannot open one unless the government says you can open one. That's how important the legal profession is in those societies, so that they make sure that not everybody can enter it unless he's so well qualified, and not everybody can survive it unless he is of that stuff. Because the greatest sin that you can impose into society is to unleash ignorant lawyers, Your Honor. They do all sorts of evils, consciously or unconsciously, Your Honor.
And then there should be a delineation between a trial lawyer and the solicitor, like in England. Only the solicitor will only delay the proceedings if you allow him to go to trial.
I see.
Whereas the barrister will be the one going to trial. Well, the solicitor solicits cases,
Yes.
and prepares the evidence for the barrister. The barrister appears in court. Why don't we have that? On that note, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Secretary Mosni.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to disclose that he was a former professor of mine at the Ateneo Law School. I believe he gave me a grade of 89. I have no further clarifications.
Because Secretary Mosni and